26.13 is the patch of Imperial Mandate as it's being buffed again, and there are a bunch of champions who are really underrated with it. So we'll be breaking it all down and providing you guys with 10 of the most OP new builds that you can play for 26.13. Throughout the Rift, 5 distinct species engage in a daily struggle for survival. The top laner, exiled to the furthest reaches of the Rift, forced to survive alone in the most unforgiving territory. The jungler, perpetually torn. Should he hunt, or should he feed? Every choice, the wrong one. The mid laner, keeper of the Rift's most fertile ground, forced to defend his territory from constant invasion, even from his own kind. The ADC, a fragile creature in his most vulnerable life stage. He needs only time, yet his pack is determined to ensure he never gets it. And the support, the most tragic creature on the Rift, whose species' survival rests entirely in the hands of others. And yet, despite their struggles, a single discovery could change their fates forever. SkillCapped's brand new Season 16 Essentials courses for every role, designed to guide you through every stage of life on the Rift, from the very first wave to the final team fight. Each course split into easy and digestible chapters, each focusing entirely on what that species needs to thrive, the exact pain points, the exact fixes, the exact path to the rank you were always meant to reach. And remarkably, you can do it all completely risk-free, as should you somehow fail to climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service, you get every penny back. Get your one-time exclusive discount using the link in the description or pinned comment below. So Malphite Jungle really fell out of meta after getting nerfed. However, there's a new build that is turning him into a really strong pick once again. Instead of rushing Malignance, which has been the most popular over the recent patches, you should be running Dusk and Dawn. Dusk and Dawn as Malphite's rush item is heavily outperforming Malignance, as it's not even close. Malignance users sit down below 45%, while Dusk and Dawn users are hovering at a 51% win rate. It's not just Dusk and Dawn that is unique about the build either though, as you are building Zeke's Convergence as your second item. Malphite is a champion who is very reliant on his R to be successful, so Zeke's is a great pickup to amplify the strength of Malphite when he dives in with R, and it's also super cheap at 2200 gold, so you'll be reaching this 2-item core very early on in your games. It's key to get the rune page right when taking this build, as you want Press the Attack for the Keystone. Press the Attack works incredible on Malphite because all he needs to do is auto and then use W as an auto reset to instantly proc the rune once he has Dusk and Dawn completed. By running this build, you actually have pretty good extended fight power, as everything ties together incredibly well. When you dive in with Malphite R, the slow from Zeke's will proc, and combined with the slow from your Q, you can stick next to your opponent really well. This then maximizes W because you're maxing W first on Malphite Jungle, so the more auto attacks you can get off, the better. So Lilia players right now are completely trolling their boots purchase, as the majority of players are running Sorcerer's Shoes when they are literally the worst boots you can run on her. Sorc Shoes are the only boots on Lilia that have a negative win probability, yet they are picked in around 50% of games. If you want to run a more offensive boots purchase because neither Merc Treads or Steel Caps are super high value for the current game, then Gluttonous Greaves are extremely undervalued on her. Lilia is a champion who loves extended fights, and therefore she's going to get a ton of value out of Gluttonous Greaves healing. You also have the healing coming in from Riftmaker's passive, so in combination with Gluttonous Greaves, you've got some incredible sustain for mid to late game fights. You're still going to want to prioritize rushing Leandries, and then after that is when you'll look to complete your Gluttonous Greaves, followed by Riftmaker. So for our first Imperial Mandate champion of the video, if you are an AP Shaco player, then you should be incorporating Mandate into your setup. Mandate slotted in second on AP Shaco is working super well right now, and it makes a ton of sense. When playing AP Shaco, you can't really just straight up one-shot targets like you can with AD Shaco, so you have to play around your boxes more, and that's where Imperial Mandate synergizes super well. Whenever an enemy runs over a box, then you're going to provide your team with the 7% damage amp on that target. When your R pops in a fight, you can also proc Imperial Mandate that way, so if you're setting up around an objective and have a ton of boxes down around choke points, then the Mandate value is going to be really high. Whenever the Mandate passive procs, it's also giving you 20 ability haste, so this is perfect for recycling more boxes and constantly placing them down around where you're fighting. So the core build you'll want to try consists of a Blackfire Torch rush into Imperial Mandate second and Leandries third, while Comet is going to be your Keystone rune. So we've been seeing Riven pop off as a mid laner in recent patches by running this heavy healing setup, and Aurelia is finding really good success with her own version right now too. The majority of mid lane Aurelia players are taking either Merc Treads or Steel Caps for their boots, but Gluttonous Greaves are winning way more. more. When you take Gluttonous Greaves as a mid laner, you then get to upgrade them thanks to the role quest, and the upgraded version of Gluttonous Greaves called Immortal Path is so broken on Aurelia. Whenever you drop below 50% health, you're going to increase all healing by 15%. This is absolutely nuts for Aurelia because she gets the lifesteal from Blade of the Ruined King, and combined with the Omnivamp from Gluttonous Greaves, her dueling threat is absurd in the mid game. Things become even more silly later on in the game when you get Death's Dance, as your ability to outlast your opponent in an extended fight is incredible. So Blade of the Ruined King into Gluttonous Greaves, followed by Kraken Slayer and Death's Dance, is the current best core build that you can run on Aurelia in solo queue. So a really interesting new build that you're going to want to try on Twisted Fate for 26.13 consists of rushing Imperial Mandate. Mandate throughout 26.12 was being purchased a bit on TF, and in its limited sample of games, it did hold the best win rate for any rush item. The fact that Mandate is buffed for 26.13 leads us to believe it will be a legitimately strong purchase for the champ moving forward. The theory behind Mandate on Twisted Fate makes a ton of sense because the passive is extremely easy for him to proc due to his gold card. Procking the passive is now going to provide 20 ability haste instead of 15, so you're getting 35 haste in total from the item when you're skirmishing. This is great for TF because it just means more constant gold cards and a more impactful skirmish. Twisted Fate is a champion who is heavily reliant on his W cooldown in order to be effective, so building a cheap item like Mandate that offers up all that haste is perfect. And of course, you're also getting the 7% damage amp whenever a gold card hits, which means your teammates are going to be able to follow up much better on your catch plays. So for the core build, it's a Mandate rush into Lichbane second and Rapid Fire Cannon third. Despite Azir being in an overall weaker state for solo queue right now, there's actually a new build going around for him that's winning way more than the standard setup. Most Azir players just rush Nashor's Tooth into Shadow Flame every game, but ever since Lichbane got buffed, it's working really well as a rush. It's the same core that we've seen pulled out on Echo in the past, with Lichbane and Nashor's Tooth as core items. You're going to want to rush the Lichbane, and by doing so, it makes Azir a little more noob friendly early on. If you rush the Nashors on Azir, then you're a lot more reliant on constantly weaving in W autos to be effective, but with Lichbane, you've got way better poke threat, as playing for simple Q into auto poke patterns works really well. You're also getting the 6% movement speed by running Lichbane, so it makes the champ a bit more forgiving as somebody who's super reliant on positioning to be impactful. So the complete core build that you'll want to try for this patch consists of rushing Lichbane into Nashor's Tooth second, and then Rabadon's or Zanya's third. So we already noted last patch how powerful Zeri currently is with Gluttonous Greaves, but there's a slight adaptation to the core build that is working even better right now. Instead of building Fiend Hunter Bolts as Zeri's second core item, Phantom Dancer has been gaining in popularity, and it's winning a lot more. The play rate of PD on Zeri has jumped from 5% 2 patches ago up to 13%, and it synergizes really well with Gluttonous Greaves. Of course, if you build Gluttonous Greaves, then you're missing out on some attack speed from Berserker's Greaves. However, since Phantom Dancer provides 65% attack speed, if you build the item over Fiend Hunter Bolts, then you are only going to have 5% less attack speed as if you went Fiend Hunter with Berserker's Greaves. Fiend Hunter gives 45% attack speed, and Berserker's Greaves provides 25%, so that adds up to 70%, which is only 5% more than what you get from PD. So by going Phantom Dancer, you really aren't losing out on much attack speed, but you get the boost in Omnivamp from Gluttonous Greaves, which helps a ton with sustain in the mid to late game. So the core build that we'd recommend you try on Zeri for 26.13 revolves around a Stormrazor rush into Gluttonous Greaves and then Phantom Dancer. So it's really no secret how OP support Seraphine has been in recent patches, but bot lane Seraphine is arguably even more insane as we head into 26.13. Bot lane Seraphine with Imperial Mandate as a core purchase is something you'll want to try for this patch if you want some free elo. Imperial Mandate was already winning the most for any second item on Seraphine in 26.12, so things are going to get even more silly with the buffs coming through. The reason Imperial Mandate works so well with Seraphine is because once she has Rylai's completed, her E is always going to root, and therefore you'll be able to proc the Mandate passive. Of course, you'll be able to proc Mandate passive whenever you use your R as well, so she's got 2 ways in which she can activate it. So you're able to deal a pretty good amount of damage yourself while also amping your teammates' damage potential, all for a relatively cheap cost too. Since Mandate is only 2400 gold, and because you gain the bonus gold on your quest completion, you're able to hit your 3-item core very consistently on Seraphine in solo queue. For your rush item, you can swap between Blackfire Torch or Archangels depending on if you want to play for more scaling or better early game threat. Blackfire will be stronger early, but Archangels scales great due to it being a tier item. So moving on to a few supports that you are going to want to be running Imperial Mandate on for 26.13, and the first one is Bard. So Deadman's Plate is still going to be the rush item for Bard, but then you'll go into Imperial Mandate second. Mandate feels great on Bard because it gives him a nice damage boost and synergizes very well with how he wants to play. Bard is at his best when he is finding catch plays and then instantly bursting that target out, so the 7% damage amp that you get from Imperial Mandate helps with that a bunch. The build path is also becoming a lot more support friendly for this patch, with the Blasting Wand being replaced by 2 amp tomes, so this is really nice for support due to their less lesser gold income. So a really offensive solo carry oriented setup that you can look to try on Bard for this patch has you taking Bloodsong for the item upgrade, Deadman's as your first item, and then Imperial Mandate to follow, while Electrocute is the optimal keystone rune. And then arguably the best Imperial Mandate user in the game right now, who is very underrated as a support for 26.13, is Galio. Galio has been finding a ton of success with Mandate in recent patches, so the fact the item is buffed is going to make it a no-brainer pickup for him. It's just so easy for Galio to immobilize a target due to his W, and therefore you're able to proc the Mandate passive very consistently. Right now, what's working best for the core on Galio support is taking Locket first and then going Mandate second. Mandate as a rush isn't performing the best, but nothing else is beating it when in that second item slot. The issue with rushing Mandate is that it leaves you quite squishy, and Galio is a support who needs to be diving in to be effective, so going Locket so that you've got the durability early on is important. For the item upgrade on Galio, you should look to take Solstice Slay, as it's super reliable for Galio to proc and makes it a lot easier on his teammates to follow up on his engage plays due to the bonus movement speed it provides. So for the complete core build on your Galio support, take Solstice Slay into Locket and Imperial Mandate, while Aftershock is the best keystone rune. But while lists like these show you what to play, our brand new Season 16 Essentials courses for every role teach you how to win, each designed to walk you through every stage of the game from start to finish, from the exact trading and recall timers you need to win lane, to the mid-game macro decisions 99% of players get completely wrong, all the way to the team fighting tips and tricks challengers abuse to always deal the highest damage possible. Whether you're a top laner in the most unfavorable matchup possible, a mid laner having to deal with everybody in your lane 24/7, a jungler trying to balance ganking with farming, an ADC stuck trying to hard carry with a support who just exists to grief you, or a support that's struggling to carry games on your own. Our Essentials courses are tailor-made to focus on the exact concepts that actually matter for climbing on your role in your elo. Check them out today, completely risk-free, using the link in the pinned comment or description below, as if you don't climb at least 5 divisions, you get every penny back. So there you have it, everyone. Those are 10 new builds that are incredibly powerful for 26.13 that you can look to run in solo queue. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you back soon.